It began like any other morning. Captain Williams stood calmly at the bridge of his Navy patrol vessel, the morning sun casting golden streaks across the endless blue. The crew moved with the ease of routine, radar scanning, engines humming, waves splitting before the ship's bow. But then, something unusual appeared in the distance, a large, gray mass bobbing between the swells. At first, the crew thought it might be a rock, or perhaps debris drifting out at sea, but something about it moved, struggled, breathed. One of the officers adjusted his binoculars, and then silence fell over the bridge. It's an elephant. For a moment, no one spoke. The idea was absurd. A baby elephant, miles from shore alone in the open sea? It defied logic. Yet there was, ears flapping weakly, trunk rising desperately for air, eyes filled with terror. Captain Williams stepped forward, his voice steady. "Prepare the rescue boats. We're not leaving it out there." The crew sprang into action. None of them had ever faced a wildlife rescue like this, but instinct and compassion overruled hesitation. A team of officers boarded a small craft, navigating through the swells toward the struggling creature. As they neared, they could see the elephant was young, perhaps 4 or 5 years old. His small size and frightened eyes told a story of innocence and suffering. The crew would later name him Sambo. He was panicked, tossing the water, trunk flailing. Waves crashed over him as he fought, just to stay afloat. The rescuers knew they had to stay calm. One officer leaned over the edge of the boat, speaking softly, reaching out. His voice was steady, reassuring, while others prepared rope and flotation devices. But then, Sambo let out a heart-wrenching cry, a deep, rumbling bellow that echoed over the water. Suddenly, the sea around him turned red. Panic surged among the rescuers. What they saw next shocked them. Sambo's rear leg was wrapped tightly in a rusted fishing trap, its iron spikes digging deep into his flesh. Blood poured into the ocean. Sharks. The thought passed through every mind. There was no time to lose. Without hesitation, 2 divers slipped into the water, knives and cutters in hand. The salty water stung their eyes, but they swam straight to Sambo's side. To their amazement, the baby elephant, though in agony, remained still, almost as if he understood they were trying to help. The divers worked quickly, their hands trembling, struggling to cut away the metal while the current pushed them relentlessly. Minute by minute, they sliced and twisted. Blood mixed with seawater, and still Sambo held on. Then clink, the last spike fell free. The trap sank into the depths, leaving behind shredded flesh and raw wounds. Sambo trembled but stayed afloat. Now came the hardest part, getting him back to shore. The elephant was exhausted. He could barely move, let alone swim. The crew wrapped a thick rope around his torso, gently but firmly. The small boat began to slow, grueling tow back to land, fighting against fierce waves and powerful winds. It took hours. Muscles burned. The salt stung their skin. But no one gave up. And finally, as the coastline came into view, a cheer erupted from the ship. Sambo had made it. As soon as his feet touched sand, his legs gave out. He collapsed onto the shore, breathing hard, body shaking from exhaustion. Rescue teams and veterinarians, already contacted via radio, rushed to the scene. They worked swiftly to treat the bleeding wounds, clean the infection, and calm the frightened animal. Captain Williams and his team watched silently. Their uniforms were soaked, their bodies sore, but their hearts were full. They had saved a life. But the story didn't end there. Once Sambo was stabilized and recovering, a new mission began, to find his family. Local villagers shared a clue. Days earlier, a wild elephant herd had been seen crossing a nearby lagoon, trying to escape inland from rising water levels. It was likely Sambo had been swept away in the current, separated from his mother during the chaos. For days, the Navy team searched the forests and wetlands with the help of wildlife officials. They followed tracks, watched drone footage, and listened for distant calls in the trees. Finally, they found the herd. Now came the final test, returning Sambo home. The young elephant had regained some strength. His wounds were healing, though his steps were still unsteady. With careful preparation, the Navy escorted Sambo across the very same lagoon that had once tried to take his life. As they neared the forest clearing, Sambo stopped. Then he lifted his trunk and let out a loud, trembling roar. Everyone held their breath. Then movement. From the trees, 1 to 5 elephants emerged, their eyes wide, their trunks raised. They rushed toward Sambo. The baby elephant ran forward, limping, crying, and the herd surrounded him. One elephant, his mother, wrapped her trunk around his neck. The reunion was overwhelming, the kind that needed no words. Some crew members wiped tears from their eyes. Even Captain Williams, a seasoned officer of the sea, looked away, fighting emotion. Sambo's journey, from the depths of the ocean to the warmth of his mother's embrace, became more than a rescue. It became a reminder that even in the most unexpected places, compassion can shine through, that humans and wild creatures are not so different when life is on the line, and that sometimes saving a life means rewriting the rules, risking it all, and believing in something bigger than yourself. Sambo's story is not just about a lost elephant. It is about hope, courage, and the incredible things that happen when hearts open wide. To Captain Williams, his brave officers, and everyone who stood beside a frightened soul in the middle of the ocean, thank you for reminding the world that kindness still floats, even in the deepest waters.